Hey everyone, it's Xant again. So we just got the Unseen Assault event in all of its glory, so I'm gonna break it down. I'll be talking about the new pilots, the new parts, and then finally the minor changes to the event this time around. So, starting off, the first new pilot is Ko. However you want to pronounce it. His trait is a typical last stand. You survive a fatal hit. Not bad, but I think that's only going to be handy against gimmicky fights, like the last story chapter boss. And even that's clearable with just guarding or out DPSing the boss. The other pilot added is Cecily. She's a female Char. She has the same skill and the required attribute to enable it, speed. I'm not sure how to feel about this one. I think it might have been better to set her to a different attribute, but hey, there's probably a reason behind it, right? Now, how would I rate the two new pilots? I'd put Cecily just under Char, as her stat pool is less balanced than his is. Char had an equal focus on melee and shooting, while Cecily is much more shot-focused. Of course, that's while considering neutral beginner machines, not more specialized ones. Ko, on the other hand, I'm not really that sure. Last Stand is useful if the content is hard, but all we have right now, it's mostly just snoozing through it. So for current content, he's primarily a stat stick. Now, on to the parts. Some of the new parts are pretty good. First, let's talk about the Aile strike. The headpiece has an EX skill on it, Eagle Stelling, which is the name of the mounted turrets on its head. The ability works like other turrets. It applies a debuff to the target on impact. It has a very low pierce and power to it. It's definitely more for the debuff than anything. Next is the chest. Its trait will boost shooting crit if the machine's attribute is speed. Due to the variety of high-tier speed parts that we currently have available, this can be quite handy depending on the build that you're running. Now, the hands. It also has a trait activated by a speed-attributed machine, and it will boost your special shot power. Just so you know, special shot is the charged beam shot you can do with the middle and long shooter job licenses when you hold down the shoot button for a few moments. In case you aren't aware of what job licenses do and the different abilities they give, I actually did a decent description of each of them in another video. I have it linked in the description if you want to go watch that. The feet have an EX skill, Rapid Thrust. It has high power and low pierce. It's a close-range physical skill, meaning damage will scale from your overall melee attack. Unlike the Exia legs, however, this one needs you to get up close and personal to use. Getting to the last frame part of the strike, we're looking at the thrusters. They have an EX skill on them. Strike Punisher has a very high pierce and a decent power to boot. Usually when you see pierce above A, power is D+ or lower, and vice versa. Since pierce is designed to ignore a certain amount of resistance, pairing it with high power is kinda stacked. So with this skill having both very high pierce and decent power, it's kind of a doozy. It does require a sword to use, and it is a ranged ability that scales off of melee attack. Shockwave melee skills, rather ranged melee skills in general, are kinda spooky to fight against. Add in the power and pierce, yeah, miss me with those shockwaves, thanks. Moving away from the core frame of the strike, we'll take a look at the Grand Slam. Now, this is sort of weird to see. You might recall, in the last video, I talked about how the strike was modular. The Aile Striker is one of its configurations, while another one is the Sword Striker. The Grand Slam is normally equipped to the Sword Striker. It's an anti-ship sword. So seeing it here with the Aile Strike makes me think they might not add the Sword Striker, or they might just skip the other configurations altogether for the strike. Maybe they just wanted a unique sword instead of just another beam saber. We'll find out, I guess. With the EX skill Knight's Nail, you get a decent A pierce with D power. This is much more normal than the Punisher skill and the thrusters, but it is a close-range melee skill, like what the legs have, instead of ranged. The second last part for the strike is the Beam Rifle. The second body parts, its trait is activated via speed attribute. It boosts the initial EX charge by 8%. Nice if you have long initial CD EX skills, since those can really help in the arena, and waiting for them to be usable can be rather bothersome. The final part for the strike is the shield. Much like what we saw from the Exia, this boosts your EX skill damage by a flat amount. However, it's activated by the speed attribute, instead of remaining armor like the Exia's. This stuff is good for EX skills that hit many times lightly, like funnels, in comparison to big damage and low hit count skills. And if you didn't notice, every trait on the strike requires speed attribute to activate, something to keep in mind. My opinion on the suit? It has one heck of a nasty skill in the thrusters, and the head has a nice debuff EX. The shield is real nice too, filling the same niche as the Exia's, if you have funnels or something that works in a similar way. Thing is, since pretty much all the traits on the strike are locked behind requiring the speed attribute, players might find it difficult to get the most out of the traits. Now onto the other machine, the X Divider. I'm going to save the head until the end, just so you're in the loop. So first off is the chest. When your weapon is a blade, your strong melee hits are boosted by 1%. In case you forgot, that's the extra swing at the end of a melee combo, where the camera angle changes. You can also activate a strong melee swing right after a dash if you have the right job license. Again, video in the description if you want a better breakdown of the job licenses. Next up is the hands. The trait on this requires the Outfighter job to activate and reduces the enemy shooting power by 8%. Not a bad trade-off considering Outfighter balances ranged and melee, so it not only helps you get closer via reducing incoming fire damage, but also helps you stay at range by outdamaging your opponent at a distance. Nice. The feet have a trait with the same activation condition as the hands, Outfighter job license. Your EX skill CD is reduced by 8%. Nice for spammable EX skills. Okay, and now the backpack. The EX skill on this has a typical spread of Pierce and Power. It's a close range skill that requires a beam saber to use, so keep that in mind when you're using it. The X Divider's rifle, the beam machine gun, makes an appearance. Now, in case you weren't aware, machine gun weapons are optimal at close range, so this gun won't be as useful on long shooter or middle shooter job licenses. The trait is a lot like the other parts, asking for the Outfighter job, and it'll boost your initial EX charge by 1%. Now onto the iconic part of the X Divider, the shield. This is where the big EX skill is hiding, Harmonica Cannon. Point and shoot. It's a flashy burst of laser beams. Do I need to say anything other than laser beams? Finally, the head. Now, why did I save this for last, you might ask? Well, to be short, the EX skill on this is sorta nuts. If you remember the last pickup we had with Exia and Dynames, they had respective boosts to melee and ranged damage by 8% to your entire squad. This head takes both of those buffs and packs it into one piece. In one swift move, this headpiece just made several other parts superfluous. All I can say is, what the hell? This part is, in my opinion, best in slot. So to summarize the X Divider parts, the hands and shield are pretty good, while the head is absurd. Now, hopefully, this brief rundown and my opinions on the new parts and pilots kinda gives you an idea on what to aim for in this gacha if you're gonna roll at all. Now, to talk about the actual event itself, Unseen Assault. First, let's talk about the AP costs and coin returns. In the last event, we had 15, 30, and 45 energy missions. These rewarded 3, 6, and 9 coins respectively. It worked out to 1 coin per 5 AP spent, and then you'd multiply it by whatever multiplier you had. This event works the exact same, just with different energy costs on the missions. 5, 15, and 25 energy per, you get 1, 3, and 5 coins respectively per mission. So much like last time, it doesn't matter which one you farm, because the end result is the same, but do remember the achievement ladder exists. The next thing I want to talk about is the event shop. Obviously, like the last one, we have welfare parts and awakening circuits. However, the purple circuits have dropped in price from 1,000 per to 800, so 20% cheaper. They also reduced the blue circuits from 200 to 150, a 25% drop. It seems they're listening to the complaints people had about the last event shop, so that's awesome. There's also a paint job at the end on the list if you want to collect it. Okay, so let's talk about the Blitz. The headpiece has the same skill as Exia, a self-heal, albeit at a lower percent strength for obvious rarity reasons. Very nice for a welfare machine, especially if you decide to run it in the arena. The arms have the EX skill Tricaros Rush. I'm confused as to why the arms don't have an integrated shield, all things considered, but alright I guess. Tricaros Rush has a weaker pierce and power spread than equivalent 4-star parts, to nobody's surprise. The feat are straightforward. You have the speed attribute and you get shooting crit up. Since the Blitz is a speed attributed machine, it's rather easy to accomplish this if you use the whole suit. The backpack trait is a tiny percent to not use thrust when stepping, or dashing. Not really all that useful compared to other parts you can put here. Now, I saved the chest for last because my boy, it has Mirage Colloid, and it does things. Things I like. The Madmen actually gave it fuzzy lock. At least I assume they did. and it also boosts your shooting damage output for the duration of Mirage Colloid. Since you're able to freely attack while in this without dispelling it, can I just say this is seriously amazing? I don't know how useful the harder to target part of the skill is, since I can't get the AI to use it, but I'm still impressed. I'm really sad that it's a 3-star part, because if it was 4-star, I would main it. But wow, they implemented Mirage Colloid well. So, my overall opinion of this update is that we got some amazing parts, and the event shop shows that Bamco is listening to the players, to a degree. I hope we see better balancing going forward, and I am willing to give them leeway on testing things to see what works best. Before I wrap up, I do want to mention something you might have missed or forgotten. Once every 24 hours, you can pull a single draw from the standard capsule gacha. Now that we have a second one added to the game, that means you get 2 free premium draws a day. Don't forget to do them, along with your free 10x friend summon draw. Alright, so leave a comment if you want me to cover something in specific next time, or you just have a question about the video. Also, if you found this content helpful, like the video so others can find it easier. And obviously, if you like this kind of content and want to watch more Gunpla Warfare stuff, subscribe. Peace out, guys. I'll see you in the next video.